Don't we love red flag articles and videos? We just eat up looking at red flags in others. Red flags on dates, red flags at job interviews, red flags here, red flags there. What if we looked at the red flags in ourselves? Because I guarantee you, when you're obsessed with looking at red flags in others, you're avoiding looking at your part in it. You're doing a bit of deflection over reflection. You're doing blame shifting. You're focused so much on what they did wrong. But let's have that humility to look back at ourselves and how we're the villain, how we're the problem, and what patterns we're seeing that make us a red flag. So let's talk about the signs that you can look at to evaluate your red flags. One of the signs is that you are constantly obsessed with what other people think of you. In a way, you're looking for external validation. So there's a hunger. That's a red flag because it's showing you that you are in a hyper insecure place and you're really latched on to, okay, I've got to get this next hit of dopamine. So a red flag in you is needing that dopamine, posting those selfies. Another thing about this is a red flag, if someone is constantly having to post about their relationship, it's showing their insecurity in the relationship. So that's a red flag in you. So pay attention. Okay, am I having a need to assert a selfie of me? Or do I have a need to assert adjectives about me, like trying to tell people or convince others that I'm a good person or a certain thing? That's a red flag. You're constantly having to profess who you are to others and have them agree because you don't really believe it, do you? Same with a relationship. If you constantly have to get the public's likes on your relationship, it's like you need that extra external validation to feel okay with that relationship. Another sign that you're a red flag is that you have a lot of burned bridges and a lot of people who are mad at you, and you're always looking up ways that they're the wrong. They're the people that are the problem. So if you're always, the first sign is what we started with. It's you've got burned bridges and you're always making it into how they're red flags. Okay, it's time to turn in and look at you, because you can be a red flag. And one of the main signs is if you are preoccupied with pointing at other people instead of pointing at yourself. Because yes, everybody has a part in a dynamic. It takes two. It's not just you are the complete victim of an oppressor. It is a two-sided coin. How else can you be the red flag? If you have a tendency to ghost, stonewall, or avoid, and instead of deal with a conflict, you're a red flag. Because yes, there are times when you are overwhelmed and you may be in freeze, because sometimes you are in freeze state and everybody has a different reaction to the adrenaline of a conflict and tension, and they're in that fight or flight, but they're in freeze. So yes, like sometimes that's why people ghost, stonewall, and avoid. But it doesn't mean that this is a healthy behavior, because it's a coping mechanism and it's a self-protective mechanism. So yes, while you can acknowledge that it is a valid thing to do, it is also a red flag, because that person is feeling very impacted by that. And yes, you're thinking of yourself when you're in that ghosting stage, but you've got to realize this doesn't change the fact that it's a red flag behavior, because it's impacting a relationship. But that doesn't mean that confrontation is always right, and that's the green flag. Because another sign that you're a red flag is if you are hyper aggressive on the confrontation and you're in fight. So people who don't go into freeze during fight or flight, they go into fight and they do want to confront. And then the reason this is a red flag is this is also not coming from a place of, it's coming from a place of trying to assert control and assert power. And it's not thinking about, okay, this other person is not ready to have this conversation and they might be shut down and feel really attacked. So you think, well, okay, so both of these behaviors are red flags. If confrontation is a red flag, and then if stonewalling is a red flag, what's in between? And here's the thing. When we're in an activated state, it's normal to go into those. But it's just good to notice that we need to observe ourselves and realize that both of those things are creating a new cause and effect. So the stonewalling is creating a new cause and effect for that other person. And then forcing a confrontation when someone's ready that's forcing something on that person or making demands for that person to have that conversation now. So these are red flags. What's the best thing to do? The best thing to do is to recognize that you might have an impulse to stonewall somebody, but then you might want to, when you come back, let's make it a when you come back, acknowledge acknowledge, say, hey, I'm really sorry I stonewalled you or avoided you or ghosted you. I got really overwhelmed and scared, and then I kind of got into that avoidant freeze state. Like, just articulate what happened, and then I think that person will be receptive to the fact that you owned it. So you're turning a red flag into a green flag by you just acknowledging how you were wrong and just taking that responsibility and accountability for it. Same with the confrontation. Say, hey, when I get really activated, sometimes I start to get into this aggressive energy where I make demands and want to confront and have an argument. And I could see that scared you and made you retreat. And I'm really sorry about that. I'm sorry I was forcing you and being petulant. So I just want to say I was kind of in fight in the fight or flight. So becoming a green flag is having the awareness to see how your coping mechanisms are red flags, and to have the conversation and ownership, because nothing kills and disarms like ownership. Like you saying, hey, I'm sorry I've been a bitch. I'm sorry that I've been attacking you in this way. I'm sorry I've been passive aggressive. I'm sorry that I've resented you for this and then I've been letting it out in these sneaky ways. Like, it makes all the difference. It makes all the difference to acknowledge that. And so you can be a red flag. You can be a red flag, and it's important. Seeing that is a green flag. So I hope that you can become more and more of a green flag by seeing how you're a red flag.